Ready for takeoff. It's going to be great.
Welcome to the Remote CEO Show. My name is Deniero Bartolini, aka Deniero B. I'm an acclaimed business coach, and my moonshot is to change the face of work and business forever. With each episode, we bring you some of the most inspiring and insightful interviews with 6, 7, 8, and 9-figure entrepreneurs to crack the code on how to build your remote empire and have fun while doing it. Thanks for stopping by, and let's get started. What is going on, CEOs? Deniero B here with another episode of the Remote CEO Show. Today, I am here with Sydney Wong. Sydney is an author, investor, founder, and CEO of Venturx, a conduit to help startups fundraise. As an award-winning entrepreneur, Sydney shares prolific productivity and efficiency tips while emphasizing on the importance of a balanced life. This is everything that we talk about at the Remote CEO. So let's get right into it. All right, Sydney, thanks a lot for being on the Remote CEO Show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
I'm very, very excited, and you're welcome. Listen, I always ask every single one of my guests what they were doing before becoming entrepreneurs. So what's your story?
Yeah, so my story is that I worked in tech and marketing because when I graduated around the last recession, actually, oddly enough, we are talking now, the things that were hiring were either tech or oil. So those were like huge in Canada, still huge now, but it was really big at that time too. So I went into tech. And so then what happened was that I had a friend who said if I was very interested in learning more about tech and startup, then I needed to move down to the Valley, Silicon Valley. So I bought a one-way ticket within about 10 days of him saying that, and I moved in with him. I just went there from Canada, from Montreal, Canada, and I was there, and it was so interesting to get to meet different kinds of startups, different investors, and everything about that ecosystem was just so invigorating. So I then had the idea to build Venturx, which is a tool that helps entrepreneurs, specifically in tech, look for early stage, pre-seed, seed, and Series A funding through their metrics. So using their KPIs in order to connect to the best fit investors. I came back to Canada because of visa issues and then built the platform from here. And then until now, we've had only remote workers, actually. Even had an office that we worked for a little bit, but it wasn't as productive as just having a remote team. And even then through that, we are now in COVID. And then during that time, I have written a book as I saw that a lot of people were having a difficult time transferring from the office life to remote life and balancing everything as entrepreneurs too. So it's called How to Have a Good Day. And hopefully it will inspire other people to take things one day at a time.
This is very cool, Sydney. Listen, I do want to we'll talk about the book in a minute, but right now I want to talk about how you scaling your business in a remote fashion, because this is what we do here at the Remote CEO Show. We inspire and teach entrepreneurs how to do exactly that. So can you give us a bit of an idea? How big is your team right now? Where are they located? Are they all in North America or are they all over the world?
So our team is all over the world. We are right now 7. So we have the business side and the development side. We have people in India, in Brazil. My very first developer was actually from Albania. And the funny thing there was that he taught me so much about managing remote teams. So at that time, we were only like 4 people. And being from, a smaller country that is really, really far away, he's actually from a sub-country that is next to Albania. His electricity got cut every once in a while.
Wow.
And by that, we were just like, oh, he's just gone. It's kind of like if you were at a physical, like, let's say, dinner party, and then like one of your friends just got kidnapped. And you're like, oh, this person just disappeared and I don't know when they're coming back or what happened or if they're okay, right? And so,
Yes.
and so then he would send like these long stories of explaining what really happened, why he wasn't there. He still worked, his regular hours. They just weren't usually at the same time as what we thought. So the way that I have run the team thus far at Venturx, 100% remote, is that we have daily meetings every day. So it's between 15 and 30 minutes or so. The developers have a meeting with the technical lead. So they have that twice a week. So we do have high touch points. They're just very frequent, but they're not very long. And that is really important when it comes to remote worker. And also during COVID, when people are getting a lot of Zoom fatigue, you want to have as many kind of very productive sources of meetings and energy and everything as possible, right?
100%. I really, really like what you said. Frequent, but not too long.
Yeah.
That's really, really the key. Have you had experiences in the past, like I did, where meetings went a bit too long and people kind of lost, I wouldn't say interest, but they lost their focus and they also lost productivity, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so that happened a lot, especially when I was first interning as a student. And I remember I worked for the biggest advertising firm in the world. I worked for big pharmaceutical companies that, you were there just because they were clearly counting you as a billable hour. Were you really contributing? Were you really paying attention? Were you really engaged just because you were in person? No, not really. But the client can see that you were there and your boss is obviously marking your attendance and everything. So when I could have countless meetings throughout all of these years when I was first starting out where my presence wasn't really present. And so for myself, what I wanted to do was make sure that everyone felt responsible. They felt accountable and they felt like they were contributing at a very high engagement level. So every person, no matter what your role is, gets to talk about what they did yesterday, what their priorities for today, and what questions they have for myself or for each other. Every person in the room gets to talk. And following Simon Sinek's lesson, leaders eat last, the leader always goes last. Because if you are in charge of the meeting and you are the one who is, dictating how things go, what is a bit kind of daunting is when you kind of set out the tone and then no one else will then really want to contribute afterwards in the same kind of way if it was like a blank slate. You know what I mean? And so I want to take these best practices, but also my experiences from the past on this is what I wish existed when I was working in an office or anywhere else. This is what I wish existed when I was first kind of learning the ropes. And I wish I had this kind of an environment. And so having said that, you can't just be your own experiences. I also have a monthly performance review, still remote, where we talk about a 360 kind of situation where they get to review themselves. They get to review myself and the team as well, the team environment, and also provide suggestions and feedback on what we can do to make any of these roles, these remote roles, better for people in the future or for themselves currently. And then, of course, as a regular performance review, I also review each of them as well. So we actually just had that this week. We do that every month. So, and then the things as a part of our work environment that I find are much more effective for other people, fantastic. It just means that we're going to grandfather them in for future programs. One of them being like a virtual team get together. So it could be like a virtual luncheon or a virtual, happy hour, that kind of a thing. So people can actually get to know each other a little bit more. And that was from the suggestion of, someone from our team, not from necessarily my own experiences.
It is amazing. By the way, folks at home, they're listening to this episode. I hope you're taking notes because this is literally a leadership masterclass. So, Sydney, thanks a lot. This was a lot of great information, honestly. But I know that we are on schedule to right now talk about your book. Can you tell us why you wrote it? You kind of mentioned it, but I want you to really dive in a bit deeper into why you wrote it and what the book is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. So, our book, How to Have a Good Day, I wrote it under a pen name, David Adams. I will send you the Kobo link. So, we first wrote this book during the first part of the quarantine. I know everybody has a different part of the first part of the quarantine. So, I'm obviously talking about Canada's. Yeah, so I saw that a lot of people were struggling when they were coming from the office back to the home and trying to manage things at home and being really just drained from every direction. And so wanted to write a book that is similar to one of my favorite authors, Tim Ferriss, in a
Yep.
style of self-improvement, growth mindset, but more geared towards entrepreneurs or people that are working remotely but having way too much to juggle, or just people in general that are feeling down in terms of productivity. You can come back and forth to this kind of a book, How to Have a Good Day, when you're just not having the best day, and kind of see that
Yes.
everything can be reset no matter where you are. Everything can start as a blank slate again. And planning things out, little tips and tricks here and there, everything that is very simple, like wearing regular clothes when you are working, even when you're at home, or how to structure your day in a way that is productive for humans, because humans are geared and conditioned to learn well and do well under some kind of structure, right? But you just obviously had a shift in it in the past, almost 24 months, depending on where you are. And so, how do we kind of shift that back into a high gear that is most optimal for you? So it's a really quick read. It's only like around 50 pages, but it's like I said, like a Tim Ferriss style. It's the kind of book that you can come back and forth to whenever you kind of need a pick me up.
That's amazing. Sydney, without spoiling the book, but I know that we're big in productivity here at the Remote CEO Show. Can you tell us, generally speaking, when the best time for focused work is and when the best time for going through emails or doing meetings and all that stuff?
Yeah, so that is a great question. So, I mean, it is different for everyone. In my life, has actually shifted from when I was a student. My best time was in the afternoon or evening, and then now my best times are in the morning. As long as you have a structured routine, whether that is a morning routine, evening routine, or both. I recommend both. Then you will be able to have the most productive times during then. So for a lot of people that I know that are entrepreneurs and they are flooded with too many emails during the day, their most productive time, which I call the deep work time, would be in the early morning, when no one else could possibly bother them. The whole idea is to have lunch while other people are having breakfast.
Yes, yes, I love this. Actually, I never heard this before. This is probably one of my favorite quotes that I heard on my podcast. Can you repeat it again so that listeners at home can understand how powerful this is?
Yes. So, in terms of productivity, have lunch when other people are having breakfast.
This, I love it. That means basically do a lot of the work before people wake up so that by the time everybody wakes up and is having breakfast, you're already in the middle of your workday, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Just being a little bit ahead of the game each day makes you feel immensely productive and therefore immensely happy with yourself.
This is awesome. Listen, Sydney, I know that my listeners will want to know more about what you do. I want to know more about your company and your book. So where can people find you online?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So, of course, you can find me on LinkedIn. We regularly publish things on YouTube, so including all of our different kinds of podcast shows, information sessions, and Q&As. So, under our YouTube, it's Venturx Team, so VENTURX_team. So you can hit that like and subscribe button, and we do publish videos almost every week now.
Awesome. Sydney, again, thanks a lot for being on the show. It's always a pleasure to have, Canadians on the show as well, even though I haven't been in Canada for so long.
You were still Canadian.
So I'm looking forward to having you back on the show for your next book as well. And I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
Awesome. And this is it for today, CEOs. Thanks for staying with us until the end. Can I ask you a big favor? can you please leave a review? I know the podcast app is not super straightforward, so if you don't know how to leave a review, just DM me on Instagram at DenieroB, DENIEROB, and I will send you the direct link to the review section. And to show you my appreciation, I will answer any business question you ask me during that conversation. So thank you again, and I will talk to you again soon.